Hey everyone, I'm Keegan83 and welcome to the next part of the E3 post-impression show for 2013. We've already gotten Microsoft out of the way, and who do we go to next? I think we're going to go a little bit more in order here. We're going to start with EA. Oh, I'm sorry. You got to say the catchphrase first. Let's hear it once again.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Okay, now to continue on what I'm going to be saying.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Okay, now let's continue on with
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Okay. Alright, let's pick up here and
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Ah, doggone it. Okay, let's pick up where I left off here. Let's see. EA, Electronic Arts. Well, every year, like a lot of other people, they have their own press conference. What did they do for this one? Well, actually, I guess from a positive perspective, they did do some pretty good things. Let's see, let's point out some positives here. Titanfall, which sounded like one of the more interesting games that EA had in mind for upcoming systems. This game's going to be coming to the Xbox One, 360, and PC in 2014, and it's developed by Respawn Entertainment, who used to be called Infinity Ward, and they were formerly responsible, apparently, for the Call of Duty series. I'm unfamiliar a bit with Call of Duty, so I don't know as much about Infinity Ward, but I have at least heard of them. In terms of Titanfall, this actually wasn't a bad game to look at. It looks like it could have a nice little twist for an FPS game. Among other games that EA showed off was Star Wars Battlefront, and I do remember the Battlefront series. There were only 2 games, but the last one that even came out was, I think, around 2003 or was it 2005? I'm looking it up right now, so let's see here. Star Wars Battlefront 2, this was the last title. This one came out back on November 1st of 2005. This was late in the 6th generation consoles. So, hey, a new Star Wars game, and this is part of the exclusive deal that EA managed to get with Disney to publish core Star Wars games. That does bring up another subject, but I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, Star Wars Battlefront. New game got formally announced, and all we saw was 10 seconds of a teaser. Now, I'm not really going to criticize this because when you think about it, Disney and EA, they just got this license going. So EA, they just managed to get the license, so development on this game probably hasn't really even started yet. It's also being developed by DICE, who is making Battlefield 4. And there's another game that DICE is making, which I'm going to be getting to in just a second. Let's see, where did they go next? Well, after Star Wars Battlefront got announced, or actually no, let's see. Well, before Star Wars Battlefront even got announced, there was another game that they also announced. It was called Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. Can you see the pun there? Well, anyway, this game is due to come out in spring of 2014, the same year that Titanfall is going to come out. It's coming to the Xbox One, 360, and the PC once again, developed by PopCap Games, who's also developing Peggle 2. Yeah, that went somewhere. But anyway, it's also got the Frostbite engine, this new Plants and Zombies game. It's a third-person shooter and tower defense game based off the Plants and Zombies franchise. And, well, from what we saw, zombies and plant creatures, they're all going at it. It's, I guess you can call it a unique spin on what a third-person shoot-'em-up game would be. It's not a bad game to look at, and for fans of the series, well, you got something to look forward to for next spring. For me, though, I'm not really interested in it. I never got into the series, but for those who are looking forward to this game, more power to you. Among other games that EA also announced was Dragon Age Inquisition from BioWare. Now, unfortunately for those who are waiting for the game to come out this year, you're going to be a bit disappointed because that's coming out in the fall of 2014. It's been delayed a year from the original fall 2013 release date, so I'm afraid for fans who are looking forward to the new Dragon Age Inquisition game, you're going to have to wait an extra year for this. But it is coming out, so for Dragon Age fans, you can rejoice there. But now we get to probably the worst part of the E3 press conference. This is where we broke into the sports games. Now, I'm not going to detriment EA's success when it comes to the sports games. NFL Madden, FIFA, there's NHL, and then there's NBA Live, which I'm still skeptic of it even coming out because 11 and 13, none of them came out, and I don't think even 12 got announced. But anyway, they start off with NBA Live, and they go on to this little demonstration of a tech demo involving bounce tech, which apparently is supposed to put a more realistic twist on dribbling the ball, giving it physics and technical terms. They even had Julius Erving from the Cleveland Cavaliers in an interview about how important dribbling the ball is. And plus EA, they didn't show any gameplay footage for these sports games, to be honest. In general, yeah, they come out every year. They try to have more details for smarter player performance and some extra motion graphics and enhanced material for the new consoles. They show trailers. I don't see any gameplay. Granted, some of these are going to be launch titles for the Xbox One and the upcoming PlayStation 4, which we'll get to pretty soon. But you don't show any gameplay, EA. I mean, dang it. I mean, that was at the point where it just infuriated me for a little while. Not like, go rage quit or anything, but that sports segment was one of the more annoying parts of E3. And they also brought in, once again, they brought in Julius Erving, they brought in a couple of the USC fighters, which EA is promoting a new UFC game coming out in the next spring as well. But, man, it's like, that was one of the worst parts of that news conference. Although they did make up for that part a little bit with the announcement of their last game for E3, Mirror's Edge 2, the sequel to the original Mirror's Edge that came out a few years ago. That was also developed by DICE, and DICE is going to be developing that game once again. But since DICE is so busy with games like Battlefield 4 and Star Wars Battlefront, they already got 2 big projects lined up there, so they're going to be incredibly busy for the next couple of games there. And as far as a release goes for Mirror's Edge 2, it's going to be ready when it's ready. That was the slogan that they put into the little teaser trailer, which looked like it did display some of the gameplay footage that we could see for the game. It even kind of looks like a prequel based off the trailer that we at least did see. So, EA's news conference, it wasn't terrible. I do kind of detriment Microsoft a little more because they had a console to show off. However, in comparison to EA, they're a third-party developer and publisher, so I can't really detriment EA as much as Microsoft, because once again, Microsoft is a console manufacturer too. So what do I give EA's press conference for 2013? I think I'm going to give them I'm going to go with a solid C for this one. It's a little bit surprising in my case because I was thinking of going a little lower there. However, they did do some good things right. There was Mirror's Edge 2, there was Star Wars Battlefront, and then Titanfall also looks good. But the score would have been higher if they didn't really flop when it came to the sports games. I know they come out every year, and like many, I get enjoyment out of sports titles once in a while. Once in a while, I'll get into a good simulated sports game. But it's just the way they went about it that just irritated the heck out of me. But yeah, that's EA, a solid C. Let's see, who do we go with next here? Let's go to Ubisoft, yeah. Ubisoft was the other third-party publisher that had a press conference. And, well, is it okay to say that you can just copy it off of what was said about Ubisoft last year and put it into this year? Because they seem to pretty much show a lot of what they had last year, with some interesting twists and turns here and there. Now, that doesn't mean Ubisoft is going to be publishing some bad games. No, they actually did show some games that looked like they had some good promise. There's Splinter Cell Blacklist, which, well, to be honest, I know it's another Splinter Cell game, but they didn't really show anything new about it. That's the only detriment I can really think about when it comes to the Splinter Cell game. Splinter Cell games I heard are really good, but it's coming out this August and you haven't really shown any brand new footage of it. It could be a wait and see for that one. The next one they showed after that was Rayman Legends, which is a title that was showed last year, but it got delayed until this fall because Ubisoft wanted to make it a multi-platform game. It was a Wii U exclusive at first, but then Ubisoft, they yanked the game back a couple times, which included that February release, which a lot of people got ticked off on when it got delayed into September. And during that time, the game is now a PS3 and Xbox 360 game, so hence multi-platform. The game is going to come out September 3rd, which has been moved up from what I was originally thinking, at least on my end, when I thought it was a September 26th release. So it's September 3rd. Hey, the sooner this game comes out at this point, probably the better. But you don't want to rush these kind of things, you know? But when you look at it, considering the game's 2 delays, it's not a bad release date. And it's also a little bit before Grand Theft Auto 5, so maybe that'll help Rayman Legends when it comes to people interested in the game and being able to pick it up and determine how the game sells. People are probably going to pick it up. It's just on how the game will sell compared to Grand Theft Auto 5. And in that case, a lot of people are probably going to be saving for Grand Theft Auto 5. But the game does look good. Rayman Legends does look good. They didn't really show anything new. They showed a new CGI trailer with that Viking girl. And they also showed off a Dragon Boss, which looked really good. I've seen comparisons between the Wii U and the 360. I kind of like the Wii U version, at least based off the visual standpoint, a little bit better. But yeah, Rayman Legends, not really anything new. Game looks good. Game looks promising. A lot of content was put into it. I think I'm going to recommend that one. Yeah. Now, there are a few other games that Ubisoft did announce. There was Mighty Quest of Epic Loot. Looked like a tower defense strategy action game. Not a lot was shown about it. In fact, I laughed when that guy was going through that. He was going through, what are those called? Pendulums, I believe? Or gauntlets? Yeah, I mean, the swinging blades. I mean, he was going through the room full of those things and he got hit by one. I laughed at that, but I'm not really interested in the game. It seems to have some okay merits, but they need to show more of it. Then there was The Crew, a game that's due for release next year, and it's an open world game with missions that involve, for example, taking down targets, racing against a rival crew. There's co-op teamwork featured in the game, and there's also a bunch of variety being promised from the Ubisoft developers for this. There's even customization options, which include game models and customization of your own car, where apparently you can use smart glass, and the customization that you built will actually go into the game. Some interesting things, and we'll have to wait and see as well for what this one is. Sounds like an interesting racing game, but how will it compare to Need for Speed for Rivals, for example? Could it be the better racing game, The Crew? Well, only time will tell, I guess. Now, there is another thing that I am also going to break off when it comes to this news conference. Aisha Tyler was the host, which she co-hosted last year with Ubisoft. In a nutshell, before we get back to the games here, I think Ubisoft's news conference, it was better than last year. I couldn't stand last year. And Aisha Taylor, that wasn't her fault. She does a pretty good job here, too. There are some cringeworthy jokes here, but I'm not going to really fault Aisha Taylor for that. I think she did a pretty good job. The news conference was better, but, oh boy, man. I couldn't stand that news conference from last year. I'm sorry, but I couldn't stand who was co-hosting with her. But anyway, back to the present here. Let's get back to the games. Overall, Ubisoft, better news conference than before. That'll help with their letter grade at the end of this segment. Watch Dogs. This was one of their next games that they showed, and holy moly. Actually, you know what? With all the good things that I said about Ubisoft in their news conference here, this was probably the first news conference that I watched on E3 that absolutely terrified me. Because games like Watch Dogs, it kind of makes you think, because it goes into a possible realistic topic that you know could be possible and happening. You just never know. But let's get back to the game here. The game features a character. He's wearing a mask, by the way, so we have no idea what his face looks like. He's able to do things like hack into networks, make power outages in the city, being able to pretty much use the environment in order to make things work. He also looked like kind of an anti-hero, where he's trying to bust criminals who are trying to still cause crime in the criminal underworld, while the cities are pretty much fully connected with the latest technology these days. The game looked good. There was something interesting about this game, and not to mention, it's probably right now one of the most anticipated games of the year. I mean, you would have to go back to the footage and watch it, to get a pretty nice impression of it. Now, is the game going to be any good in the end? I have no idea, because we haven't seen a whole lot of the game, but it does look promising. You got to give Watch Dogs that. And plus, it's an original IP, which is a little hard to find in today's world of games, where you have a bunch of sequels coming out every so often. So Watch Dogs, definitely one to note for, and we'll see what it does in the future. There were a couple other games like Rocksmith 2014, which sounded nice, but how many people get into rhythm games these days, especially with Guitar Hero not being around anymore? There was a South Park game, which they picked up from THQ. It looked okay. I'm not a fan of South Park, and I really have no idea what to say on it, so just to throw it out and mention it there. There's Just Dance 2014, another game I don't exactly care for, but for those who get into that, more power to you once again. But then we get to the Rabbids Invasion Interactive TV show, or in other cases, this is Rabbids FMV. It's a game where it essentially acts as part of... Well, actually, let me rephrase it a bit. Rabbids are getting a TV show. It's Rabbids Invasion. It's coming out on Nickelodeon, but it has the technology where little kids can interact with it. Like, they point their finger at the screen and shoot little objects at the rabbit characters, like eggs and balls and among other things. And you can even scream at the TV. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I don't mind a new twist to a cartoon, but is it going to be well received? I'll leave it at that right there. But yeah, Rabbids FMV. I don't know. Let's see here. There was also, there were 2 Trials games being announced, and what it is so far is it's a guy on a motorcycle, you go off ramps, and you do tricks. Kind of like Excite Bike and maybe Motocross Madness, I'm not sure. But there's 2 games that have been announced, one for mobile and Trials Fusion, which is going to be coming next year on home systems, like Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, and PC. That's coming next year. Those 2 got announced. There's also an open-world RPG that's on the way by Massive Entertainment. We'll get to that in just a bit. Assassin's Creed 4 was also announced. This one is pirate-themed compared to the American Revolution theme that was present in Assassin's Creed 3. Is it too soon for this game? Maybe, because some people are actually getting tired of the yearly release of Assassin's Creed games. Now, I'm not gonna full cranking out so many Assassin's Creed games so often to a huge degree, because I have to admire the work that Ubisoft does put into their games. There's a nice strong art style behind it. They do try to put a good form of quality into their games. And that's a reason why they are one of the most successful companies in the third-party gaming world. But in terms of the yearly releases, that's something that people are getting tired of. It'd be nice if the Assassin's Creed franchise took at least a year off. That way, the developers, they can rest, develop some new ideas to help keep it fresh, and then, like, say for example, Creed 4 comes out, and they take a year off, all of a sudden you got an extra year's time to develop new ideas for a 5th game, which, by the way, there's no Assassin's Creed 5 by this point, but apparently 3 more games have been confirmed to be in possible development. So yeah, this series is definitely going to continue. But yeah, it would be nice if the franchise at least took some time off. That way, people can at least get a break from it, and then when it comes back, it'll bring a nice, fresh approach once again. That way, it doesn't get stale so quickly. I hope I made sense when it came to that. Alright, well, Assassin's Creed 4, let's see, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but it looked pretty good, and I'll leave it at that for now. Next game is the open world online RPG, by the way, by Massive Entertainment. I mentioned this just a bit earlier, and what's it called? Tom Clancy's The Division. This was another game that just terrified me because of the overall premise. The overall premise is apparently something was being experimented on. They noted on just how germs are traveled through the dollar that you have. You better watch out. That next $2 bill could be, man, it could cause a doggone paradox or freaking zombie apocalypse or something. But anyway, this was a game that terrified me because of the overall theme. And, it's one of those games that kind of made you think. What I do like about the game, it looks great. I mean, I was hoping for a nice boost of graphical material for this generation, and this is one of those games that surprises me. when it comes to the graphical look. Not much was put out about it, though, especially when it came to the commentary. I thought it was the voice actors actually talking during all the combat and the missions that was shown off in this game's demo. But apparently, those were just commentators, they weren't voice actors, and they sounded rather boring. So, yeah. Not the greatest of start, but The Division looks like it could have some good potential, much like Watch Dogs. We don't know when this game's going to come out just yet, but in the future, we'll probably find out when The Division occurs. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to Ubisoft. I mean, they showed off some good games, but they also showed off some games that we've already kind of seen. We know Rayman Legends is coming out, we know another Assassin's Creed is coming out, and there's some others that just don't really rock the world, to be honest. So, what can we give Ubisoft, the guys who were the kings of the show last year, which definitely said something when it came to the console manufacturers? I think for this year, I'm going to give Ubisoft, like EA, a solid C. There's some good titles in there, but it's kind of a repeat from last year. So that's pretty much it when it comes to Ubisoft. The conference was better from last year, but by this point, will it be better for next year? I'll just leave it at that because we still have a lot more to talk about. Okay, I think we're going to go on another break here, and this is going to be part 2. So, let's see. Part 1 Microsoft, part 2 Ubisoft and EA. So far, so good on the post-impression show for 2013. So, going to take a little break. I'm going to come back next video, and we're going to go into a really good press conference, probably the best for this year. Not saying the rest of the news conferences were completely terrible, but this next news conference was definitely one for the ages, at least in my perspective. So, hope you'll tune in next time. I'm Keegan83. I'll see you in just a bit, everyone. See you in the next video.